these reflections, so that it's reminding us what we're doing. Then people, many of you feel aversion to the chanting, and because you're not used to it, and one just sees it in terms of a reaction to something you maybe not understand or appreciate yet. But this is a challenge. I mean, with traditional forms, you can't just, where oftentimes we want to make life just convenient and bend everything to our particular view. Where when you fit into a tradition, it reflects that kind of conceit and selfish concern, where you just want life on your own terms, because in a tradition you more or less conform to something that you may not like in toto. That's good for us when we have to do things that we don't want to do, or endure things that we don't see the point of. I mean, sometimes we think life should always be practical and reasonable, and only do things that you particularly find reasonable and sensible to do, and you're not stupid, so you're not going to blindly conform like other people do to stupid traditions that are just bowing and scraping and chanting and just a waste of time. I'm going to do the real practice. That's a kind of conceit. That's conceit. If you can begin to notice this conceit we have. I know what's good for you. I know what's good. I'm kind of an authority, or I know what's reasonable and what's sensible, and this isn't. And so when you listen to it, it's not beautiful. Kind of conceit is not a pleasant or a peaceful mental state. Humbling, isn't it? Where we have to humble ourselves. We have to we learn that we're suffering with this conceit, because it's always destroying life. And so simple things we can't enjoy, or just the ordinariness of a moment, because we've always got a kind of an agenda going, or a critic, or a viewpoint, or an opinion about something that we thrust upon life. Remember, years ago in England, the people would say, "I know what the Buddha really taught. He didn't teach this. He didn't teach that." And then they have these strong views of, "I know what the Buddha taught, and you're not doing it right. He didn't teach that." What is that? What is that anyway? That kind of mental, that thing that goes on like that. And so you listen to it. This thing that I remember in Thailand, and reaction to the conforming to Vinaya and the ceremonies in the Wat Pah Pong, Ajahn Chah's monastery. I used to sit there fuming sometimes. This is stupid. Why do they have to do this? This is a waste of time. I don't see the point of this. The Buddha didn't teach that. And, then you're projecting. They're just doing this. They're just conforming out of ignorance, and they're just keeping rules blindly. And then you listen. I listen to myself, and this is a kind of awful thing in me that would bitch all the time and complain and just look down. I mean, just because I found it inconvenient or I couldn't see the point of it, I had to dismiss it and we look down on people who seem to be enjoying it. So then, contemplating this, I realize this is suffering, to have a mind that can be conceited or arrogant, have an arrogant attitude. But it's something, arrogance and conceit, something we need to listen to and we have metaphor, not this isn't trying to intimidate you, but pointing to what we do with our minds and how much suffering we create with this kind of views, opinions, positions we take. And the reflection on Sangha is supatipanno, ujupatipanno, yaya patipanno, samiji patipanno, and patipanno is one who practices or doing it. And so in Thai they use the word patipanno that comes out patibat in Thai. They say, we are Bhatipat monks, we're practicing monks. They say, we practice, and there's a kind of conceit in that too. In Thailand we practice, we don't just read books like those Pariyatti monks in Bangkok, they just read books. They aren't practicing like we do. So conceit comes on all, whenever whatever we're grasping. But patipanno is a practical side, doing it, practice. And supatipanno then is, su is always a positive prefix, like good. Like Sumedho. Sukhetu. And sukha is happiness, dukkha is suffering. So is a kind of negation. And su is always a positive prefix on a word, boosting it up a bit. Like Sumedho, Medho means wisdom, and then su means good wisdom. And kind of, it's just not just Medho, wisdom, but Sumedho. I don't think wisdom's always good, but it's giving it a bit of a little more a boost. So supatipanno is the one who practices well, the right way, good way, or doing the good, to do good and refrain from doing bad. This in a Buddhist culture, in Thai they have nice, succinct ways of saying this. They say, do good, you receive good, do bad, you receive bad. Do good and refrain from doing bad. And this is the kind of hackneyed advice you get. But it's behind that, because it's repeatedly said and used, one gets kind of dismissive of it. But there's wisdom there, isn't it? To do good and refrain from doing evil. Purify the mind is the teaching of all the Buddhas. So, do good, practice the good, live in a good way. So make goodness your active side. Because we have bodies, we have speech, we have intelligence, we can use it for bad too. We can use our bodies, our speech, our minds for causing harm, division, pain, misery to ourselves and others. Or we can use it for doing good. And so this is where, we're taking responsibility now. We're not just saying, I'm a helpless victim of circumstances, I can't help myself. I do bad because it's your fault, or because I'm a victim of life, or it's America's fault, or it's my mother and father, or we always blame somebody. But this is a supatipanno isn't going around justifying weaknesses and blaming others. It's this determination to do the good. And then refrain from doing bad. So we have bad impulses, but we don't act on them. So when we have an impulse to kill somebody, we don't do it. And that's wisdom, isn't it? And we can't always help what we're feeling, but we have a choice in regards to action and speech. Then Ujjupatipanno is directly practices. It's of immediacy, and the Buddhist teaching is really Ujju teaching, isn't it? It's being aware, being enlightened now. It's not kind of roundabout. It's as direct as you can ever. It's directness itself, Ujjupatipanno. And that's why you contemplate this idea of I'm going to practice now so that in the future I'll become enlightened. That's not Ujjupatipanno, is it? That's a delusion of the mind. I'm going to do something now in order to become something in the future. But this is being enlightened now, being mindful now, awake now. Tomorrow I'm going to awake. Well, that doesn't make sense. Awakeness is immediate. It's not when you think I'm going to do it next year, you kind of miss the point of it. And then Yayapatipanno, insight, looking inward, and insight in this word insight, and practices insightfully. It's with the moment, intuitively, and not operating out of plans and prejudices or preconceptions and views and opinions. It says it's immediate Ujjo Yayapatipanno, practices insightfully, sensitive to the time, the place. And then Samijipatipanno, with integrity. So there's one who practices it. We're growing up. We're no longer whining little kiddies that blame everything, life because it hasn't been fair, and the world because it isn't what we like, and just complain and whine about it. We'll take on life. We're not going to. We have integrity. We have guts. We're going to look at life directly and honestly. Rather than feel sorry for ourselves or blame our misery always on somebody else. Then they say, Yati Tangitari Purisa Yukani Atta Purisa Pukala. That is the 4 pairs, the 8 kinds of noble beings. I'm sure that inspires you. What are the 4 pairs, the 8 kinds of noble beings? So this is the Arya Pugala is means a noble. Pugala is being. So the noble beings are the stream enter, the Sotapanna, the once returner, no returner, and Arahant. Well, these are the various stages of holiness that we realize. And so there's the 4 pairs, the 8 kinds. So there's two. There's a pair in each of the 4. So the Sotapanna, stream enterer. There's the what they call the path and the fruit. When you see the path, or really know the path or the way, have insight into the way, and then you practice that, and then you receive the fruit of that practice, the pala. So then Sakatakami, the once returner, and you see the path of the once returner, and then the result of that. And then the anagami is the non-returner. And then the arahant, you see the path of the arahant, and then they realize the results. Arahanta magga, arahanta pon, pala. So the 4 pairs, Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, Arahant. And so there's 8 kinds. 4 times 2 is what? 9 pairs, no. 8 kinds of noble beings. And so they say, what in the heck is a Sotapanna? A stream enterer. And what in the heck is a once returner, a non-returner? These are religious expressions pointing to the insight into, say, the path, or the Eightfold Path. And so this path is, through the investigating the noble truths. You have the first, second, third noble truths. And the third noble truth is the realization of cessation. And I've been emphasizing that a lot on this retreat, this realization or knowing the ending of things, or the emptiness, or the silence between the words, or because this isn't emphasized very much by most teachers, I think. No, I don't know all that many teachers, but it doesn't seem. So there's and then also it can sound too difficult, like we can exalt this. Like I've heard, Asian monks say that, of course, there are no Sotapannas, no stream enterers anymore, no arahants left, and nobody can realize the Four Noble Truths. Where do these guys come? What? Which is they don't want to be bothered doing it. So then but then these 4 stages also, it can be a hassle because we tend to see these as attainment. And that's another thing that's very dangerous, is to see yourself as attaining these stages. That's where we really need to listen to ourselves and know how we think, because we see like stages almost as attainment, like getting your bachelor's, MA, PhD. That's how we're programmed to see life, isn't it? Freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. So, and then we practice meditation. There's also desire to get something out of it, attainment. To really get somewhere, be somebody. This kind of thing. And some people, it's really they're always grasping at these stages. That's where mindfulness is not to think of these stages as a personal attainment. It's not personal. These aren't attainments. They're references to relinquishing, letting go of things. So it's like you don't ever attain anything in meditation. If you're meditating in the right way, you keep letting go of everything, relaxing, letting go, relinquishing, so that there's nothing left. That's an arahant. What do you think an arahant is? That's a real high attainment. An arahant, special being. This is Ajahn Chah, was he an arahant? Ajahn Mun, he was an arahant. All the Thais believe Ajahn Mun was an arahant. Buddhadasa, was he an arahant? High attainment. Really, was the Dalai Lama an arahant? No, he's bodhisattva. Which is the better attainment? Should I choose? Somebody asked Ajahn Chah that once in England. I'm confused whether I should be an arahant or a bodhisattva. But this is how these things work on the mind. So like a stream enterer, they have, you contemplate when you see the path, then you see through the doubt and attachment to rules and rites and rituals, and the personality view. So I mean, this is why we're investigating this personality or our ego and all that. Just so you're really breaking through the tendency, because if you don't do that, then you can assume that as a person you are a stream enterer, or you're not one. Some people they tend to see themselves only in negative terms. They say, I've been practicing 20 years now and I'm not even a stream enterer. Because the personality view still, they still have they still believe there's somebody who's practicing meditation as a person. And so this is why, listen to this personality of me and mine and what I think and if you want my opinion and my viewpoint and my practice and also it becomes I can't do it, I'm not good enough, I've got too many faults, and that which is aware of that personality is your refuge, isn't it? You're not taking refuge in your personality. So your refuge is in knowing, in listening, awareness, rather than in some kind of definition or identity with personal qualities, positive or negative. So personality view is seen through. They say, attachment to rites and rituals. They say, see, I'm not attached to chanting like some of you are. I hate it. Or, I must be a sotapanna, because I'm not attached at all to rites and rituals. I think it's all a bunch of rubbish. Or they say, I'm not attached to rules, like Ajahn Sumedho is. He's attached to rules. Keeps all those rules. I'm not attached to rules. I can break all the rules. It doesn't bother me. But that is personality view, isn't it? I'm not attached. But this means like the superstition or the conceit, because we can be attached to views about that conventions are a bunch of rubbish, and that's another convention we form, isn't it? A viewpoint. So attachment to views and like conventions, traditions, but it doesn't mean that we reject them, but there's a way of, as I've been saying, conventions, traditions are for developing mindfulness, not for increasing attachment. And then vicikicca, doubt. This is why emphasizing the way to use doubt rather than just suppressing it is by using it, that questioning, question mark, the non-plussing of the mind. I don't know. And you're witnessing, observing, using these things rather than just convincing yourself and suppressing or ignoring things. So those three, when you really break through the attachment to rites and rituals or to views and opinions, the attachment to the personality view and and you're no longer overwhelmed and deluded by the doubting, the doubt, then you see clearly the way to practice. The supatipanno is very clear. The way, the eightfold path is an obvious thing. And then the once returner, we can still have, but we still have a lot of lust and anger and conceit and other problems, so that these can still be pretty strong. But in the once returner, the sakatakami, the lust and aversion diminish, begin to fade out. So they're lessening their hold on your mind. And then anakami, non-returner, lust is gone. So now that I'm 60, must be an anakami, or is it just old age? And then the arahant is free from any delusion whatsoever. Conceit or subtle forms of conceit still linger into the non-returner, and that's completely relinquished in the arahant. But these are not identifications for persons, for people. You see what they do? They're helpful as criteria for reflection, but when you start thinking, am I this or am I that, then forget it. Don't bother to think like that. It's helpful references, guidelines for reflection rather than personal identification. So you get people going and saying, is Ajahn Chah, was he an arahant, or was he a stream enterer, or Sakadakami or Arakami, and the Ajahn Chah, Buddhadasa, these might never say anything about it. Never heard them make any claim. So then people say they're probably not, because they would, but it's not. It doesn't mean anything anymore. If you're breaking through the personality view, then it is meaningless to say I am something or other. It isn't registered as being anything, it doesn't make sense to you anymore to think of yourself in terms of attainment or being somebody who's got something or attained something. As more and more the problem dissolves, the desire to attain and identify with stages, that desire fades out, it disappears. So the problem, it just fades out. It's not like it's ever solved. It just disappears. So that's why the spiritual life is humbling. It's not like you feel you're not getting anything out of it. We want rewards for all the efforts we put in. But the reward of meditation isn't that you gain, it's that you lose. you relinquish. More and more you find it easy to let go of things. You don't gain anything. Or if you do, then you're going to lose that too. So it's a different, that's why it goes against the world. Worldly values are attainment and gain, acquisition, achievements. I have practiced with these great teachers, and I devote so many hours a day to sitting, and I have realized this, and I have realized that. Don't trust any of those kind of people. I wouldn't trust them if they talk like that. No, this is it's not an attainment thing. Where the world is, I have a bachelor's, I have a MA, a PhD. I don't have to. But I mean, in Sri Lanka, monks eager to come to England because they all want to go to Oxford, Cambridge. Or if they can't go to those really prestigious universities, they'll settle for Birmingham or Manchester, something like that. They want to, have a PhD. Wouldn't that would really set you up in Sri Lanka? PhD from Oxford. And call yourself Dr. Sumedho. Almost sounds evil, doesn't it? They really think that's a great attainment to get a PhD from Oxford, or from any American universities, or even Indian ones. A PhD, even a kind of one you buy. They're able to use the word doctor. And so this is like the whole point of Sangha is lost in that, isn't it? To me, it's meaningless. So because the holy life isn't like that, the worldly life's like that. You can get qualifications and get status and become somebody important and get a Nobel Prize or some prestigious international award and have your name mentioned in Who's Who and all that. And I'm somebody. But in the holy life, it's not that. It's that you're not becoming somebody, but you're relinquishing personality, greed, hatred, and delusion. There's this abandoning, letting go, relinquishing, renunciate style. So it's a different. So that's why it's going against all the worldly conditioning of the mind. So this is why you really need to see and know this sense of me, mine, I want to attain, I can't attain, or have I attained something or not, or the whole sense of what they call Sakya Ditti, or the personality view, and thinking by doing things you're going to attain purity or attain states, like that's Silabbata Paramatha, or attachment to rituals, rites and rules, is thinking by keeping the rules, doing everything, practicing hard, isn't it? Some of you think just sitting for hours on end you're really going to attain something from it. You're going to put in these long hours, hard work, so you should get a reward for it. Is Silabbata Paramatha. We should be rewarded for hard work. Is the Protestant work ethic. Very much ingrained in American psyche. We should be rewarded for hard work. It's only fair. not fair. We work hard and we don't get a reward for it. So that's the sila bhatta paramasa, the attachment to rules or opinions, and then doubt is vicikicca is a really subtle kind of subtlety that we need to understand how that works. The doubt, that doubting experience of doubt, which of course destroys. If we're just caught in doubt, we're just always in a state of irresolution and waffling, insecurity, complaining, just kind of whining about life, and ever feeling, just caught in this kind of unpleasant feeling or not getting anywhere. So doubt then isn't just to get to answer the questions, but to understand the very nature of it. So now you know the 4 pairs, the 8 kinds of noble beings. I know there's a limitation of language. You have to 4 pairs, 8 kinds of noble beings, and these ones are worthy of gifts, worthy of hospitality, worthy of offerings, worthy of respect. They give occasion for an incomparable goodness to arise in the world. So this also, the noble being, those humans who relinquish letting go of conceit and letting go of delusion and superstition and letting go, and these are the beings worthy of respect, worthy of hospitality, worthy of offerings. They give occasion for incomparable goodness to arise in the world. You think, it's true, just saying somebody like Ajahn was, he gave occasion for incomparable goodness to arise in the world. This one little man in northeast Thailand, remote part of Thailand, and yet it is through him that many of us developed or were inspired or made a firm commitment to the holy life through his example, through just the wisdom and the compassion of one wise human being. So he had a profound effect on many people, even just one little man in a very remote part of Thailand. I like to contemplate that. Or the Buddha himself. We're still talking about the Buddha after 2,500 years. He's still a fascinating figure. People are fascinated by the Buddha all over the world. And he's still inspiring, and that just, the Gautama Buddha. Because I found the effect of it very strong, to break down the illusions of perceptions of time. Because that grasping of time, personality, the kind of holding to views and imposing and projecting views onto life. And of course the avijja, or the delusion, the self as a kind of permanent personality that you remember. I mean, the ego is kind of conditioned into the mind. It's not. It's memory. We think of ourselves, this happened to me, and we remember things that happened, and we hold ourselves as a permanent personality. And of course, as long as that's the refuge, that's a very unstable, frightening refuge, to be a personality. Because it's just a collection of memories and assumptions and delusions. So it always leads to a feeling of just anxiety. But time, the past is a memory. So yesterday, we were sitting here. This time is a memory now. And a memory is, then I contemplate just what a memory is. It doesn't have any real substance. It's a function of the mind. So you remember, remember yesterday, but it's very fleeting, ephemeral kind of mental thing. So life itself, like 60 years now, memory over the past 60 years is like a water waif, like a soap bubble, something kind of totally insubstantial and fleeting and unstable, a memory of 60 years of being this person in this body. When I contemplate memory, that's the past in the present, and the reflection is always now, isn't it? It's eternity is now. And then the sense of I was this, I did this happened to me. Then relate that to the silence, so that the sense of me as somebody that something has happened to in the past, somebody with a past, with memories. It's you're relating it to eternity in the present, the silence, and suddenly the sense of yourself dissolves. That kind of anxious, self-projecting habit disappears into the silence. Modern life is oftentimes we're always blaming our past, or what our parents or what people have done to us in the past. It's what they call a society of victims, because we feel that because bad things have been done to us in the past, that we've been kind of ruined or spoiled, either through what somebody has done to us or what we've done to ourselves. That's the function of memory, isn't it? So you can assume I've ruined my life because I did something really stupid in the past, or my life is ruined because I was abused, or I was not loved, or I wasn't given a chance in the past. So that holding to those views, then we become somebody who is a victim, somebody who always feels threatened and like you're kind of permanently ruined or spoiled by things from the past. People that have taken drugs and sometimes worry. They think, if I took a lot of drugs in the past, I probably can't ever develop spiritually, that kind of fear. Or with, I'd say, with women who've had abortions, the kind of fear of, that's ruined me as a, maybe I'm, that having an abortion, I've been ruined in some way. These kind of this is a sense of a self remembering the past, something that, or being sexually abused, or this fact maybe your parents didn't love you very much or didn't even want you. Maybe you were an accident, or things like this, and then we can hold to that, and then we are in the present always this very insecure feeling that somehow life is we've somehow missed out, or we've been ruined or spoiled. And then this kind of reflection is you're putting it in a context of what it really is. That's memory. And then from that memory you create yourself as, and you can make a case for it. It may seem like that because the memory is very convincing, and we can, and that sense of anxiety and something wrong, that sense that there's something wrong with me, is a very, again, ordinary way to feel when you're just caught in the perceptions of your mind. That's why it relates that to that which is not self. The silence is not self. The breath isn't self, or begin to realize the body is not self. The body's not me. And staying with the silence, the sound of silence, and with the breath is this attentive listening. And what is that? Ask yourself. What is that knows this? That's aware of, that can observe or know that I feel insecure as a person, or I feel I've been damaged, or my life is ruined, or I've made a mess of my life, or whatever. What is it that is aware that there's this kind of feeling, and then can listen to the silence and let go of that feeling completely. Because if you sustain attention in the silence, then that feeling goes, that anxiety and about yourself and all that, falls away. Where did it go? But this attention, mindfulness, it's a constant in your life. I mean, you can always be mindful no matter what's happening. That's why refuge in Buddha. So the past is a memory, and the future is the unknown. So contemplate that not knowing, don't know, that sense of not knowing, I don't know, the future, tomorrow, next year, when I die. Nonplussed, isn't it? What's going to happen when I die? Thinking process packs up. Nonplussed, non-plus. Don't know. But there's an awareness of this not knowing, isn't it? Of this nonplussed thinking process that but we're not used to not knowing things. We want to know that we start worrying. The mind, those that say that the future is filled with worry, isn't it? Or anxiety, or hope, or dread, or anticipation. We create these kind of mental states. Maybe this, maybe that. And so that there's awareness of that, of just this proliferating tendency to create these kind of moods of expecting, dreading, fearing, worrying, anticipating, hoping. But all that means that we don't know. Those are emotions we create around not knowing things. But there's this constant in this, isn't there? This knowing the future is the unknown is like this. so they say now is the knowing, the eternity is now, the present, the eternal present, because that's all there ever really is now. But there's still this knowing that we're reflecting or contemplating, and then so that we're this ability to contemplate, reflect, and listen, watch, and say, is our refuge. A Buddha knowing the Dhamma. Heard this story one time about this woman that was on a meditation retreat, and she had a problem with memory from the past because she had her father had a kind of terrible illness and was in a lot of pain, physical pain, and so he kind of insisted that she help him to die. So she did. She helped him and kind of, did things that would kind of help him to die, keeping her. I think he kind of forced her and told her to do this. So. But then what this did to her as a memory was that, did she kill her father? A kind of fear of having committed a murder or something like that. Anyway, she asked the meditation teacher about it, and the teacher said, one of the worst crimes you can ever commit is patricide. Worse than patricide is killing a Buddha. So the poor lady just is absolutely shattered. No hope in it. I mean, that's a heavy trip to lay on you're a murderer. You killed your father. That's one of the heaviest karmas you could ever commit. And so then the lady was, just felt totally kind of destroyed and hopeless. You see, that's not reflection, is it? That's not contemplating the way things are. That's grasping ideas and the sense of yourself. Or you read things in the scriptures, like that you can pick out, and the way things are said in scripture sometimes come across in very kind of strong ways that we can take very personally. And so this reflectiveness is watching that whole thing, how things affect your mind. How your worries, your dread or fear, or what somebody says to you, or what you read in a book, you can watch the effect on your mind when you're reflecting. Just to not to analyze, but just notice certain words, certain things bring up a certain effect, or you feel averse, or you feel frightened, or you feel something that make you anxious or worried. Such as last year, that word appeal. The sound appeal. It had effect on my mind. Why was that? Because there was anxiety about the future, of having to be a witness at an appeal, chief witness at an appeal. I am the chief witness at this appeal. That's really a fraught situation. That whole perception. And if you've got a strong personality, that you've never questioned it, you just taken over by all your personal fears and memories and that, and these things are just you're the chief witness. You have to prove this case. The future is the unknown, but the future is frightening. So what before was just an innocent word, didn't do anything to me. Suddenly, when it applied to me as a person, and pointing to something that's going to happen in the future, then this is what happens. Physically I could feel it. Mentally there was this like a feeling of dread. But there's a knowing of this too. This which knows is aware. That's not dreading anything. That awareness, that's clarity, is wisdom. That's your refuge. So that's why your personality, don't take refuge in being a person or in somebody else. I'm totally dependent on this person for my happiness. You set yourself up for misery. Now the appeal is passed. That was a year and a half ago. To memory. Now what's the effect? We won. There's no pain in the guts. A kind of pleasant memory of that appeal because because we won it. And the people that were against us looked foolish and silly in the appeal. We can kind of gloat and now the word appeal, we won it. They said I was a good witness. So the past is a memory, and then that memory, it's just like a soap bubble. Try to hold on to a memory. See how long you can really hang on to it. And you have to work at it. You have to keep remembering it all the time. And get bored remembering the same memory. And yet the attitude that I am this personality is a memory but yet it has we can make it cover the whole, the span of our whole past. 60 years I've been this person. 61 years. And might even, I was 9 months in the womb. What's that? To include that in being my personal development. 62 years. That's what memory or is thought. It's and we create that in the mind, and then relate that to the silence, and to the being in the present with the breath, the silence. This awareness, this attentive awareness, sustained attention, listening. In the future, what's going to happen to me in the future? Don't know. Don't know.